I'm Danny.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're from No Treaty.
You're listening to the KingdomCore podcast.
Welcome back to the brand new KingdomCore podcast, and we mean brand new. If you guys are watching this, or I guess just listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, you can tell that the podcast looks a little different, doesn't it?
Yeah, like look at my shiny lights and the background.
I was talking about our logo.
Oh, I see.
The people listening to this can't see your room, but yes, Chris is in a.
I got this wrong. Here we go. Hold on.
There we go.
Where's the blue?
There we go. That matches it.
That's the money shot.
I love that. That's cool. Congratulations. Chris has moved into his home and has a beautiful new studio.
Thank you. Yeah, it is very still disorganized on the shelves. My body hides most of it in the shot. You can't see a whole lot of it, but got some cool lighting, snazzy lighting.
We are back. We have a new look. Shout out to the Bramlett Bros of the protest, or Quiet Strength Design, for doing that logo for us. It turned out so sick. And I already posted about it, and we got a lot of comments and messages just saying how much they love it. Everyone wants it on like a shirt, and I can say that will happen next year. So,
and I'll just say it before anybody else does. I am sorry, all-consuming podcast.
For what?
We have headphones.
What do you... Oh, because they have headphones on their logo?
We're not trying to rip off the logo. We swear.
Did not. Yeah, we have a crown of thorns, though.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about. It's like they get fire, we get the crown of thorns.
There you go. But headphones are on, like, I feel like 7 out of 10 podcast profile photos are headphones.
Cliche. We're just doing it better.
Yeah. I said no microphone, which I think that's good.
Yeah. No, we're definitely super stoked with the way it turns out. Hopefully you guys all like it. And as of recording this right now, like, I haven't done the rest of the visuals, but I'm hoping that it turns out as sick as the logo.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are stoked that you guys are here. Thank you for being here. We just interviewed the band No Treaty. You guys might not know them. They are a brand new Christian metalcore band. Just released their debut EP, independently dropped, called Sound the Trumpet on November 15th. The thing,
and as of recording, like right now as we speak, that is in 45 minutes that releases to the world. Okay, sorry, 1 minute. But I am so excited for you to all hear it. I'm excited to hear what you guys think, because this is a special EP, and it's definitely, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, that conversation of the album of the year list comes around a little bit more prominently for us. And this is definitely making it on there in some fashion.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, this is a can't miss EP. We talked to Danny, the vocalist, and Kyle, the main guitarist and songwriter. We got to talk about how they met, band name, how they write, who produced this, all of that, and then did a very in-depth track-by-track analysis, synopsis, whatever you want to call it. They were very transparent, super vulnerable with their struggles. Very, very encouraging conversation.
We very much enjoyed our conversation with these guys. They're very refreshing, and we're just thankful for them to share what they shared and to put out this kind of music. So before we hop into that, we got some Patreons to thank, and then we got a review to read. We have a new true fan patron.
Let's go. Mr.
Andy Dick. He also is a patron on my personal channel, Patreon,
sweet.
Too. So
that's awesome.
He's double dipping. So, dude, Andy, thank you so much. But as always, we have the Dead Pedal Coffee Company. These guys have been supporting us since the very beginning. We have our core givers as well. We got Anthony Kuchma, Fabian Richter, Frankie Blocker, and Jonathan Lyman. You guys have been around and supporting us for so long, and we can't thank you enough. Also, the whole new look of the podcast, a lot of that is thanks to you guys for your investment in this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Great. So we have a new review to read. This one comes off of Apple Podcasts. It is titled My New Obsession, and it is written by RJ Spills. This is a long one, so buckle in. I have been listening to heavy Christian music for a long time. My friend dragged me to Demon Hunter show back in the early 2000s, where I saw Norma Jean, Dead Poetic, and Project 86. Man, what a lineup, and what a great friend. I hope you're still friends with them. After that, I was instantly hooked. I remember asking the local Hastings store manager to order me the new Zayo and Spoken albums back in the day. Now with Spotify and TikTok taking off, it's easier than ever to find new music, but harder to find the stories behind the music. I stumbled on KingdomCore TikTok and found out about this podcast. It has been scratching the itch to find out more inside perspectives on the bands that I love and new ones I haven't heard of before. You can't find these kind of interviews anywhere else. In my community, most people think my taste in heavy Christian music means I like Skillet or Newsboys instead of Impending Doom or Fit for a King. It's truly refreshing to find a podcast like this where I feel like part of the community. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, RJ Spills.
Yeah, thank you.
That brings a smile to my face. I'm so happy that you are a part of the community and that you feel like you're a part of the community.
Yeah, that is so cool. And that's crazy that anybody would think that Newsboys is heavy. Just saying.
I mean, hey, in the 90s, they had some rock stuff.
Yeah, that is true. They used to.
They did. Dude, Peter Furler. Is it
Furler?
Furler. That's hard to say with a speech impediment. Peter Furler. Dude, those albums went hard back in the day.
In the hands of God.
Oh, there you go. That's a throwback.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. And if you guys want a chance at having your review read here on the podcast, go leave a review on Apple Podcasts and leave a comment on Spotify or whatever platform you're on, or on YouTube. Share your thoughts about this episode and No Treaty. And without a further ado, let's head on to the interview.
Well, this is a 4-hour podcast, so
okay. Well,
We're Joe Rogan.
Yeah, this is the Joe Rogan experience.
okay. Do you guys want me to rant and talk like Donald Trump? I can do that.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Start. Are we recording right now?
Yeah, we're recording already.
Let's hear that Trump.
Oh, I'm a pass, bro.
No.
Wait, I'm not even kidding. When you guys revealed your artwork on Instagram, because you had music on the post, it has the little like speaker icon in the bottom right corner, and it covered the ET at the end of Trumpet. So it said, "Sound of the Trump."
It's not.
You guys announced it on the wrong day.
Not a conspiracy. All right, you know.
Perfect.
Oh,
It was like,
so
I
funny.
no joke thought it said that.
Oh, jeez, no. We are not touching that at all. No treaties, no political affiliation. Wait till the next record. You'll get our idea on that. But.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I love that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm surprised like nobody said anything about that in the comments.
Oh, jeez.
Well, now they will.
Now they will.
Great. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. It's exciting
Thanks
to
for having
have you
us.
guys on. Only been like once or twice when Chris and I have been able to get on like a super brand new band, like right as they released their debut. So it's always fun to be able to just introduce those bands, and especially you guys, to the KingdomCore community as a whole. So welcome to the scene, guys. We've got Danny and Kyle from No Treaty, a brand new metalcore band. They have just or are about to just release their brand new EP, Sound the Trumpet, not Sound the Trump. It comes out November 15th, which I guess this podcast will be out afterwards.
That's tonight.
That is actually tonight or
2
tomorrow.
hours, basically.
Yeah, but it is out now if you're listening to this, and it is fantastic, right, Chris?
It is incredible. Like, I am super stunned. Sean was like messaging me yesterday, I think,
This
when we
morning.
got it, or this morning, and he's like, dude, this is easily top 10 of the year.
What?
And I was like, I was hesitant.
I overhype a lot of things.
He overhypes a lot of stuff to me, and I was like, I've heard your guys' singles and they were great, and I was like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see why like Ron will really hype this up. And then I went to listen to it today, and hearing it all together plus the 2 new tracks that weren't released prior, just incredible. I was stunned. It was so good, guys.
Thanks,
Dude,
guys.
thank you so much. We're really glad you like it.
Plus, me being the cover art aficionado here, it all came together with the artwork.
So
It
good.
was like just beautiful. Yeah.
And that was Leon,
Yeah,
right?
that's Leon. Is
Yeah,
the man.
Leon.
Leon Humphrey.
Yeah.
We love that guy around here.
And I mean, really, a big shout out to him because we had to do some last minute adjustments. He's just done a lot of work for us. Yeah, even just 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, I'm in church and I messed up some lyrics or whatever that were sent. It was all jacked up, and so I'm like, "Oh, Kyle, this is all wrong." Like, I gotta get a hold of Leon, and he was very gracious to send me the link so I can edit it all. But he's been a very patient dude with us.
That's awesome. Love to hear that. I know I've worked with him a fair bit. So, yeah, shout out to that guy. But, yeah, let's talk about the EP. You guys are a brand new band. How long have you guys been working on this? Let's start. Or I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the origin of the band. How did you two meet?
All right, so technically, Kyle, a long time ago in a galaxy far away. And really, it was a long time ago. I think over 12 years. If I'm not
2011.
mistaken.
Okay.
So Kyle was in a band called War Torn Martyr. I was in a band called Last of a Dying Breed out of North Carolina. And we played a show together. And somehow we just exchanged contact information through, social media. And then I never talked to Kyle after that, right? And there was a lot of things that were going on in my life. If I can be very quick, just a lot of things that the Lord was doing with me, dealing with sin in my life. And I ran away from music, far away from it in 2012. But at the end of 2022, going into 23, I got caught up in the Southwest drama. All the flights got canceled. Me and my family were supposed to fly home to Minnesota, and it didn't work out. So we decided to rent a van and drive up. Well, I had just learned about the Labeled podcast and was listening to the first one I listened to was the one with Jimmy Ryan. And I'm a big Haste a Day fan. So like it was very impactful for me, but I had started to get this desire back to play music. And I was telling my wife, I was like, babe, we're just going to drive to Minnesota and listen to Labeled podcast the whole way. And she's like, all right. And so we did 18-hour drive straight with my 3 kids, us like switching on and off, sleeping in the van and driving, Red Bull, obviously. And then by the time we get to Minnesota, it's like 8 or 9 in the morning. My brother and sister-in-law are there already, and we're going to breakfast with them and my in-laws. And I was convinced I'm playing music again. And so I started talking to my brother-in-law about it, and he's like, you're going to need to get all this equipment. You're going to have to do this thing and the other thing and, whatever. I was like, okay, well, we'll see.
Real quick, were you a vocalist in your prior band?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at the last day of the trip, me and my brother-in-law are talking about like, okay, well, we can do this because he lived in South Carolina. I'm in Maryland. I'm like, we can do this at a distance. I actually did that in my old band when I was deployed to Iraq. We passed tracks back and forth, and I wrote that way, made a booth out that way. It was
whoa.
Yeah, so we wanted to keep it going, and I'm like, I know we can do this. And so anyway, him and I are talking about it, and he really wanted to do something based off of like, was it Times of Grace, that band that Kills Switch Reform?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no offense to anybody, not a fan. And I'm very much a hardcore kid. And anyway, I'm like just scrolling through stuff on Facebook, and I saw this video that Kyle posted up. And he's like, in the caption, he said, I got this passion. I think that God's given me this passion to play music again. And it's like a really sick riff that he was playing. And I just commented, I was like, yeah, me too, man. Good luck. And then like 10 minutes later, I think it's the Holy Spirit, but I had this thought, like, maybe I just asked this guy if he'd be into trying this. And that's how it started. He was in Oregon at the time, and I'm in Maryland. So it just kind of took off from there. That was January of 23.
Okay. Wow, Two quick questions. The first, was the riff that Kyle was playing in that video, is that on the EP?
No, it wasn't.
No,
it
wasn't. Okay, gotcha.
No.
And then go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's some riff that I call Narwhal. Nobody knows what it means.
Nice. That's cool. And then the second question I had for you, Danny, you were listening to the Labeled podcast like 18 hours. What was there a specific interview or a specific thing that was said that like in your mind turned on the light bulb? Like, okay, this is the exact moment that I know that I need to do music.
Well, so like I had known previously that there was indicators that the Lord was moving me in this direction when I was in high school and whatever. Okay. And I actually was supposed to go do this. That's another story. But to get back into it, Jeremy Ryan's testimony definitely struck a chord with me.
Okay.
But then there was some episode where I think that they had Chad Johnson on, and we're talking about Furnace Fest. And when I heard about that, I was like, how have I not known about this? But mind you, I've taken a large break from heavy music, not listening to anything new.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
And when I heard about this and like all of these old bands that I love and grew up on, like Stretch Armstrong, Shai Hulud, like they're all coming back and doing this. And I'm like, this is incredible. And that's what I was like, nah, I gotta do this again.
Okay. That's really cool. I love that. And Kyle, you were previously in a Christian metalcore band, right?
Yeah, I play guitar.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I play guitar in a band called The Death in Me. We broke up in 2017. We all got married, and it was a band that we started right outside of high school.
By the way, a very good band with just one album that is very solid.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's got a tree on it, right?
Yeah, and a Field of Heaven. I have that in my music player right now.
That's awesome. We started that. We started that band right outside of high school. I know for me, I grew up Christian, but I grew up Catholic. No offense to anybody that is or anything like that, but it wasn't for me. And once I started following the Lord, and my now wife, who was my girlfriend then, had brought me to her church, and I was seeing worship music and everything like that, and it kind of was this thing. I felt the Lord really calling to me to use that as a platform to share. I'm always kind of a shy guy. I'm not a big talking guy, so I like guitar. Just kind of get the movement going. And
you let the music do the talking.
Yeah, yeah. And so we started The Death in Me, and we were really we were boneheads, big boneheads. We hit the road without playing, having any music out, and went on these long tours. We went on a tour, a 2-month tour with Meadows. I think it was their first tour, actually.
Whoa, for real?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, we love Meadows around here.
Yeah, they're the best.
Rest in peace, Brandon.
And but yeah, so in 2017, we just kind of felt like it was, I don't know, it just really, we had always said if it became more for us than the Lord, we would just hang it up. And I think we were all at a pivotal time where we were getting married, and we were wondering what we were going to do. And we were going to try to make the band work, and it just, our hearts weren't in the right place. So we just shut it down. We all got married, literally all of us. And then we came back for one show just to kind of close it out in 2019. And then I hadn't picked up my guitar till shortly before Danny watched that video, which was at the end of, maybe the very end of 2022, Christmas time.
Damn. Yeah. Was there a lot of rust for both of you guys?
Yes, actually, so much to the degree Kyle told me. I think we were about 3 or 4 months into this, and Michael Felker put up his vocal lessons thing, and he's like, Danny, I'm not saying you're not good, but maybe ask Mike about doing lessons. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not above that. And so that actually birthed a pretty cool relationship.
Oh, that's so sick. Okay.
And so kind of getting to level with Mike a little bit about how I, what I used to do and kind of where I'm coming from and now coming back into this. And he's like, man, I'm, so pumped about it. And he's actually offered us quite a bit of counsel in this whole thing. And ultimately that led to us asking him, and, Kyle and I were both like, maybe we could ask him. Let's just ask him, And so we asked him if he would do vocals on one of our songs, and Mike really liked Monolith. And that was even prior to some arrangement changes. So, he kind of, I don't know, he's kind of believed in us, and we really appreciate him, having anything to do with us at all. So.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
think that was a really great feature, and that was a really good introduction to you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think between what you guys had done, with the production, having him in there, the songwriting, but even just the quality of what you guys put into the video, everything was there from the get-go. It was oh, this band is trying, they're succeeding at that. So
right.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of what Chris said with the production, for those listening who probably don't know, Ryan Leitru did this album or this EP, so that is why it sounds so amazing.
Yeah. We love Ryan quite a bit.
Yeah, he's the man.
What was it like recording? Did you guys record with him or?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you guys recorded tracks, sent them to him, and then he mastered them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he helped us with a little bit of writing and some arrangement changes. He would take the songs and he'd be like, "Hey guys, what if we did this?" And changed everything around, and we're like, that sounds way better. We like that.
and oddly enough, this song, Monolith, out of all the songs that we had, we're like, this one's probably not going to change at all. This one's solid,
This
and
one's sick. Yeah.
this one got changed the most.
That's humbling, right?
Yeah, it is. But he knows what he's doing. If I could say one other thing
Go for it.
on this song, it's really it comes with the relationship with Mike. When Kyle and I were talking about, because it's only been me and him. We had some folks at the beginning who were trying to be a part of it, and ultimately it wasn't working out. So we were like, we're just going to do this, and we got to work with a friend of ours to help write drums, and Jeremy Schaefer a little bit too.
Oh, sick. Okay.
And
Dude,
then
everyone in the Christian scene has had a hand in CP.
that's quite the lineup of members just to work on it. Yeah.
Jeremy wrote the drums in Pages.
Oh,
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. I got some thoughts.
But we were, I was pretty hard leaning into Kyle, we need to play soon, really soon. And Kyle was like, we need to hold on, man, chill out. And I was
We
like,
don't have
Kyle.
any music.
Yeah. And Kyle's like, I said to Kyle, what happens if Convictions for our first show was you could open for us or whatever? Are we going to turn that down? And Kyle's like, well, obviously not. Funniest thing, we're talking hypotheticals. This isn't there is nothing of substance to anything there. And our first show, we opened for Convictions and Confessions of a Traitor. So
That's so sick.
So Mike, first show we did, Mike did the feature. It was incredible.
That is really
That's a
awesome.
show I want to see. You three together,
Yeah.
that fits
Gosh, what a
perfectly.
lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. But it's just, I don't say it's nothing about us, right? We definitely see the Lord moving in the very small parts, in the details, right? People say the devil's in the details, but I think it's the Lord that's in the details.
That's good.
Amen. I like that. So, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just curious, when you guys were getting together and you started working on music, was this EP very intentional from the beginning? You guys are no? Okay.
No.
No.
Okay.
We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we're just we're writing songs.
Yeah.
I think we talked about maybe we could wrap this into a concept, but not so much. And we're like, I don't know what we're doing. Do we write a full length or do we just cut it off here? And I think Ryan was pretty big on like, just do an EP. Like, you don't need to do anything crazy right now. Do an EP, get it out there.
Yeah, EPs are the thing right now, I think. They are. They used to be pretty underutilized, but now it's like the go-to.
Yeah. So you guys were writing this. You guys met up, linked up, started the band. You guys obviously got more than just like you two. I've seen your profile picture. There's like 6 of you guys. Are you guys a 6-piece band? Because that's a lot for a metalcore band.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so me, Greg, who is our other guitarist.
Okay.
James, who is our drummer, and Seth, who is our other guitarist, all come from The Death in Me. And then John came from a band called Written in Red. The reason why we have 3 guitarists is because when I wrote Deep, I wasn't thinking about ever playing any of this stuff live. I was just like, all right, another layer. And then we got practices and I was like, this is awful. Like, I can't play any of this. Like, I can play only one part of this, at a time. And so we have it on a track. I mean, like, some of the shows we do, we're going to have to, some of the pieces, because we saw Norma Jean and they had 3 guitarists and we're like, dude, what if we just never had tracks and we just wrote all these parts, so many layers, and it's like, let's do it. And so,
dude, I love that.
And so, which is funny because I just got done writing like Forget, which only has literally 2 parts. There are 6 of us, but one of our guitarists, Seth, is not able to do many shows or tours. So
got it. Okay.
Like, in person will probably be 5.
Got it. That makes
when we
sense.
play around home, 6.
Okay, and he helps with like the writing process too and stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. I love that.
As a matter of fact, Seth, when we started doing this, we pulled him in briefly, and he was starting to do drums. And at one point, we had so many members that were kind of like going in and out. We're like, Seth, we hate doing this to you, but we kind of need you to just be the flex guy. You can do a lot. So he's like, I don't care, man. Like, I just want to do whatever. I prefer to play drums or bass, I think, at the time, but now he's guitar. So whatever.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's good.
Then once you guys got like your 6 members, talk about the band name. How'd that come about?
All right. So we actually started this off, and I had a different name in mind. We threw like a ton of names up there, and with the lineup that we had in January of 23, we all voted on one name, and we're just not going to mention that name. There's no point. It's irrelevant.
No,
because
we need to hear it now.
So, all right, so we were under the name of These Last Days.
Okay.
And then, well, we were like, I think when we started working with Ryan, Kyle had previously mentioned like, oh man, I just don't want to be that band that's like talking about, end time stuff all the time. I'm like, it's not. It's based off of Hebrews 11:1-2. And he's like, yeah, but, people are going to think it's just all this. And he's like, Impending Doom did that. And that's their thing. I'm like, that's not what we're doing, but okay. And then I went to a youth conference, and I heard this youth pastor. Well, he's not. Yeah, I guess he is a youth pastor. It's Calvary Chapel, Philadelphia. Anyway, he was one of the speakers, and just addressing these folks. And if you guys ever take kids up to go to a youth conference, you think I'm just going to watch them. It's really nothing for me. But no, the Lord hit me hard, and something he said was like, you guys, you're while you're struggling with sin and you're doing whatever. If you guys just give into this and just like start justifying it and saying it's okay, like you're making a peace treaty with sin. He's like, no treaties with sin. And I was like, that's pretty rad. Like, I like that concept. And for me, like, we all, Kyle and I are knuckleheads, right? Chief knuckleheads in this band. And we've done a lot of dumb things, and we had a lot of sin that's had to get worked out of us. And it's still getting worked out. But the one thing that I think we see in certainly the church in the West is this idea where we just justify sin and it's okay. Like, oh, you got problems, you got issues, No, man, you got sin. Let's just call it what it is, and let's not hide it. Let's do what James, says, right? to confess those sins to one another and pray for one another so we can be healed. Let's walk in the light as he is in the light. We suck. Like,
Amen.
I'll just be honest with you. Kyle and I got into an argument this past week. I was a total jerk to him. And like,
treaty, airing it out.
We're open and honest, man. We're not. So we took that, and it was really when I was on a trip, an immersion trip in France for the army, and we're kind of going back and forth with this idea of the band name. And I was like, "What about this, man? Like, what do you think?" And he's like, "Well, with everything how we established No Treaty and wanted to be open, honest, and transparent, this is all for the Lord. Like, that seems to be more in line." And I did have a call with Mike about it and bounced it off of him. He's like, "Yeah, it seems solid." So we're like, "Well, forget it. We're just running with this. This makes more sense of what we're trying to do."
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. It's such a unique name. It definitely, like, when you guys first came onto the scene and I heard you, I was like, it catches your ear.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna do a joke band. Off to the side, No Treats. Our first song's gonna be Trapped Under Ice Cream. So
it's gonna be an anti-Halloween band.
That's a new one.
That's all coming from our guitarist Greg, by the way. So shout out to Greg.
That's so cool. Well, do you guys want to maybe do like kind of like a track by track like synopsis, like what each song is about, kind of maybe a story about how you a little bit of a writing process?
Yeah. We're into it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Let's do it. Well, let's start with the first song, Trumpet.
Okay.
Trump.
Yeah. So it's all about, everybody's got to get out there and vote. If you don't vote, you're terrible. You're a terrible American. I can't do a Trump accent. I'm sorry. No, all right. So this is really the song where we were having the conflict with These Last Days. So I understand that not everybody is going to fall in the same category eschatologically. But this song for me, as I'm going through the last 4 years and seeing all of the chaos, and really, there are some things that the Lord used in my life to bring me to that point, like getting serious about my faith again. And it's about the rapture, right? We're not going to hide it. If you don't believe that, that's fine. Like you do what you want. We believe that Jesus is King. He's going to come back and establish his kingdom. But this is from that perspective of crying out to the Lord, like, all this stuff is happening in the world. It's chaotic. It's crazy. And we're kind of losing control. And we really just want to go home, be with Jesus. Like, what better thing would there be? I think I can kind of leave it on that unless you guys got more questions.
Yeah, we our band name might not be These Last Days anymore, but we snuck it in there with the whole sound the trumpet thing. Yeah. But what's cool about this song so Pages was written while I was still in Oregon. Monolith was written while I was still in Oregon. Deep was written while I was still in Oregon. And when Danny and I met up because Deep, not to jump ahead, but Deep is the only song that we recorded in a studio with our buddy Garrett. But we stayed at his apartment the night before, and that was the first time that Danny and I had been in the same room together since that 2011 show. And so that was really cool. But that night we wrote Trumpet together. Like he sat on the floor and I sat on the floor next to him with my guitar. I was like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And the song kind of like came together actually rather quickly. Yeah. Which was a cool experience. It's the only song I think on the EP that was like that.
It's cool. Yeah. Where do you guys get your inspiration from musically? Who are you guys' influences?
All right. So like Sleeping Giant, Comeback Kid, Shai Hulud, Disciple AD, Bloody Sunday, No Innocent Victim.
Okay. So mostly older, like
old face down 2000s hardcore.
Okay.
Yeah,
for Danny.
Because I was curious, because like you guys have, and when you were mentioning that how you hadn't listened to anything in like so long, to me, you guys have very much like that late 2000s, like 2010 kind of a metalcore, like it's blend of like hardcore and metalcore, obviously, but like a lot of similarities I find to like Wolves at the Gate, and then you can have some of that like For Today kind of mixed in there. But,
and I was telling Chris even like some Close Your Eyes a little bit there,
like
punkier parts,
But it's cool hearing that, like, for by and large, it's a lot of like the old school, like spirit-filled hardcore stuff.
Well, Kyle's influences are a little bit different than mine.
Yeah, let's hear those. I want to know if I'm right, because I was telling Chris there's an album in particular that it has like a lot of similarities to it. I want to know if I was right.
Okay, well, my favorite band of all time is The Ghost Inside.
Okay.
So they influence me a lot.
I can hear that now.
With my writing. But I try not to sound like them because I'm a little bit more old school feel. But but I love them. Wolves at the Gate is another inspiration. When I was writing Monolith, I was listening to Counterparts, which that song doesn't sound anything like Counterparts, but the intro I kind of ripped off from Nothing Left to Love.
I can hear
that. But yeah, so for me, The Ghost Inside, Wolves at the Gate, For Today was a big influence for me, not so much musically, but just overall. Like they were the first band that I ever saw that was a Christian metal band. So they're the reason why like I even am doing this, like, or knew that this was a thing. And then, I got a couple other ones. I mean, I listened to a little bit of everything. I still like old stuff like As I Lay Dying, which we don't want to get down that train. But
I've never heard of that band. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Sleeping Giant was another one for me too.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So what was it, Sean? What was the one you're thinking?
So I've been telling Chris, there's parts that sound similar to like some of the riffs off of Augment by Era. If you guys have ever heard that album.
I've heard that album, yeah.
Okay.
No.
There's just some parts like a little less technical, a little like melodically. There's some parts on Monolith where I'm like, that sounds a little bit like this part, or like influenced by this part. Or maybe that's just me reading my own influence.
You're just obsessed with Era.
I am obsessed with Era. That's true.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of old Era. I like new Era.
It's gonna get spicy now.
And actually, the riff and pages, the main like verse riff, doesn't sound anything like Era. But I was listening to Divisionary. And I was like, dude, this riff is sick.
I can hear that.
And so like I just started noodling around, and I was like, this is kind of cool. And that's kind of how I came up with that.
I love that. That's so cool.
That's cool.
Cool. So that is Trumpet.
I
ahead.
think just a little bit more with. No, wait, maybe not. I had a little factoid about Trumpet. Shoot, man.
You guys hid some tracks of trumpets in the background?
No, we should have. Have
a horn section?
It originally was written about Trump, right?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I love it. First term. Yeah, I love the Matt Gaetz move. Yeah, that was pretty sweet today. Thanks a lot. No, I don't know. Maybe if I remember, we'll just come back to it. And I can
for sure.
Sneak that in.
Yeah, totally.
All right,
cool.
So
Let's move on to Monolith. Yeah,
you guys
which we just
talked about, Michael.
Yeah, was this the first song? I know it's the first song you guys. Wait, no, you guys already answered my question. You guys were on the floor in the studio writing it. I was going to ask if it was the first song you wrote, but
Monolith was the second song we wrote.
Second song.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
what was the first song?
Deep.
Okay, cool. So we'll get to that later.
And when I first showed Danny Monolith, because it was just guitar, nothing else, and he was like, dude, he's like, I don't really like this. And I was like, yeah, oh man, but it's like like the guitar by itself's not that like exciting, but it's the drums and like your vocals are going to bring it together. And like he's like, I don't know, man. And but when and we didn't have drums to that song till like much later.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And the chorus line in that, or what I guess has been called the pre-chorus. I don't know. I cannot hide the truth or hide behind a lie. Like that was in a from a previous band. Like after I got out of the Last of a Dying Breed, and I never stuck around with that band. I actually got kicked out because they were a secular band. I'm a Christian, and I voiced some opinions online, and they kicked me out because of that. They were upset. They're like, we don't want you to not share your opinions, but we don't want you to share your opinions in this. So I was like, well, I'm taking my lyrics and going home. So so that if they were very dear to me,
I'll find someone else to write a love song to Trump about.
Gosh. So yeah, and that was the thing. Kyle's like, bro, but these lines, they fit perfectly in this part, and I'm like, yeah, but this is not what I envisioned. And once we got the drums in there, it really did bring it together. So
I love that. That's really cool. So what is that song about? I mean, I know the lyrics are pretty straightforward, but many people listening have not heard it.
Yeah, so I think it's more like a call to arms, right? Like for Christians to come back, right? It's an invitation for them also to be, to be the salt and light of the earth, right? We're there. In that part we have that I'm the watchman, I'm the monolith, I'm the salt that delays decay. And a lot of times we hear that, preached in church, right? Like, oh yeah, salt, it gives flavor to the world. It does this. Yeah, but salt is also a preservative, and it keeps back the rot. And so as believers, like we have a duty to occupy, right? Like Jesus said, like, occupy till I come, right? So like for us to be active in doing things, we do drive back that rot. And I think what we've seen, certainly in America, with us coming further and further away from Christian values, there's been more corruption, more awful stuff. You see folks like, I can say political stuff on this, right? Whatever. Like some guy who's accused of, fooling around with a minor who is now being appointed to a significant office in the government. And I don't know, man, like, and Sean and I, you and I got to talk a little bit, offline. It's just like, there's so much in here, so much morality it's come away. And we're just trying to call believers back to that, right? Like I could care less what the rest of the world's doing, but the people who follow Jesus, like, let's just do that. Let's be bold and open.
Amen. I love that. That's awesome. What was the decision to make that your first single? Was it the Mike feature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Mike.
You're like, we got to appeal to the Christian crowd somehow.
Yeah. And quite honestly, I think at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but we only had Monolith and Deep recorded, and it was kind of like,
oh shoot, okay.
What do we do first?
No, that makes sense. Deep doesn't feel like a introduction single.
No.
Yeah, I know that because that was the first one, and I remember like we were gonna put that one out, and Ryan was like, I don't know if you want to lead with that one. But so we did this one, but. One cool thing that happened that was like really special for me because like For Today was a big influence for me, like overall with this. And so, like I said, that song got super Frankenstein, and I had a different breakdown. There was a breakdown in the middle, the one where Danny goes, "You are love," both the origin and the definition of that one. I had something else that completely went over that, and Ryan was like, "Dude, what if you?" He's like, you know what? Let me write it. And so he wrote it and he's like, what do you think? I'm like, what do I think? That sounds sick. I was like, don't get offended. It sounds kind of like it came off the Wake record, but I love it a lot. so we call it the Wake Down.
That's great. I love that.
That's so good.
But,
that's awesome.
So what you're saying is this EP that song is the closest we'll ever get to New For Today.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's cool. When you're working with Ryan, is like, because obviously you guys weren't doing it there in his studio, but is it just like a video chat a lot like this, and he kind of works through producing it with you guys? Okay.
Yeah, he's got like the screen up there and moves stuff around and everything.
It breaks our achy, breaky hearts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that song sucks.
Especially when it comes to lyrics.
I rewrote the whole thing.
Yeah. Lyrics. He's like, Danny, I know you want to say a lot of things, but next time just try to say less things. And I'm like, yeah, I know, man. That's my problem.
That's funny. Well, that's why we're giving you a platform to say all the things you need.
Thanks.
Yeah, all the political things that you get hot water for.
Yeah, if we had all 6 members, this would literally be like a 4-hour podcast.
Yes, it would.
All right, to my favorite song, Pages.
It's a heater, man.
Ooh, Pages. Okay.
Sean and I were re-listening to the EP again. Like, I only heard it like a few hours ago for the first time, but we listened to most of it again just before you guys hopped in. And Sean was saying he wasn't really paying attention the first time with Pages, like he was in the gym working out. And I guess you were just too into the lifts or something. But
yeah, I was disassociating.
I was telling him, like, dude, like the riffs in Pages are just insane. And as we were listening, it's just constant. It's so good over and over again.
So good. And lyrically too. Because I was listening, I was reading the lyrics for the first time while listening, and that gripped me in a lot more, being able to read those.
Yeah. All right. So the lyrics for Pages and Forget were written on that same trip to France.
Okay.
And I mean, we're open and honest, so whatever. We just gonna share some stuff and get into the feelings a little bit.
Do it.
So I have some people in my life, and really, really dear to me, and I discovered some things, and they're professing believers. I discovered some things, some anomalies, right, and found out they were supporting somebody else that we were very close to in their pursuits in homosexuality. And they were doing it all behind closed doors. We knew that they were struggling. Me and my wife knew that they were struggling with like trying to help this person and point them to the Lord, but wanting to hold on to them. And we just tried to encourage them a lot, like, hey, just let the Lord deal with it. Get out of the way. And they didn't, right? And we found out, and really it was more egregious. It was more than just like they went to this person's wedding. They were actually like attending rallies and all kinds of things.
Dang.
And like, as believers, right, we're called to reject the evil, right? Reject those things. Call people to Jesus, right? Point them to that, preach the gospel. But these folks, they said, well, Danny, we can't just preach the Bible at them. Like, we have to love them through this. And I'm like, but you're not loving them. You're actually, you're
hating them.
You are. It is hate because you're not telling them the truth. And I'll tell you, like, these people that I'm talking about, like, we've had a lot of stuff in our lives, and I've hurt them, they've hurt me. Like, it's awful, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anything. That it matters what Jesus said. And so, I was in the London Heathrow Airport when I found out about this and put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I sent it to my wife, and my wife's like, "Oh, I bet you they went to the wedding." And I'm like, that's what the signs were all pointing to. Well, I get on the plane heading to Lyon, and I'm not thinking about any of this, right? I'm thinking about how am I going to survive in the Lyon airport, and I'm just rehearsing all the phrases and the language or whatever, and like I got some people that are next to me, and they're discussing things, and I'm like trying to listen to pick up French that I may have lost, and so I land and I turn my phone back on, and I have 30 text messages from these folks and from my wife. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm reading all this, and they're bad. Like they're going at me and my wife. And ultimately they told that, my wife had called them. I didn't know this, but she called them and said, confronted them on like, is this what happened? And one party was like, yeah, this happened, right? I went, and then she's like, well, did the other person go. And the other person, we had the most confidence that was going to stick to their values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nope. And that person got on the phone with my wife and says, well, a lot has changed. And my wife's like, no, a lot has not changed.
The gospel sure hasn't.
Right. You changed. And so that's where a lot of those lyrics came from. As I'm sitting in restaurants in Lyon and considering all of this, like, that's where, like, the opening thing, right? Or, in that first verse, right? A lot has changed since you last knocked on my door. Whoever knew with the word of God, less would be more. And that's like it. And the really cool thing with that is I attended a church out there in Lyon, a Calvary Chapel, and the pastor and I were just talking and going back and forth, and I'm sharing with him this situation, and he's like, man, it's like every time that they ignore something in the Bible, it's like they just tear the page out, like just go on and tear it out, like why let the conviction do anything? Just tear it out. You don't need that, right? Just carry on with whatever you want to do. And actually that Sunday he was teaching on this stuff as he's going through Philippians and talking about the threat on the inside. And he's got his congregation's mostly immigrants, and they have like this infighting because there's different clans that are from Afghanistan and Iran and whatever. And they're like, they're having an argument right there in church, and like, but Daniel, you don't know what their people did to us. And he's like, but you're supposed to love them, right? You're supposed to love them just like Jesus loved them. And they're like, but Daniel, you don't understand. And he just tears the page out of the Bible, right? And crumples it and throws it. And they're like, Daniel, stop it. And he's like, but this is exactly what you're doing, right? Every time you sit here and disagree with it, this is still true, but just tear it. And you know what? By the end of it, you keep disagreeing. That page is connected to that page, so just tear it out. And it's connected to the next one, and before you know it, you got nothing.
Dang.
And
it's a pretty powerful illustration.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I love that.
when it comes out, hopefully I'll be able to send Daniel the link, and he'll get to listen to it.
Yeah.
So, he's an old Tooth and Nail fan anyway.
I'm sure.
I hope so.
Tear out the pages. What is left? There's nothing left. Tear everything out. There's nothing left. Dang. Dude, that's really good. I like that.
Yeah, I think listening to it again, reading the lyrics along with like all that context behind it, it's gonna. Kyle, what about the guitar riffs in this thing? Because it's filthy.
It's disgusting.
Well, yeah, like I was listening to that song "Divisionary" by Era, trying to figure out what in the world Jesse does, because in that song, that's completely unrelated.
Dude, Jesse is unbelievable.
He's tapping this thing and singing and not looking, just acting like I'm just like, what in the world? But it really inspired me. I was like, man, I got to do something cool. And so, anyways, I just started messing around, but I still wanted to have a little bit of that hardcore influence in there. So I kind of forced it in there in certain parts with like some power chords and stuff like that, because I didn't want to write just like a bouncy metalcore song. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I didn't want that for this. And so this was the fourth song that was written for this, and I was still in Oregon, and I was really messing around because I like with things that I was really trying to go outside the box, because I haven't messed around with a lot of clean guitar tone or anything like this. This song the pre-pro version of the song had like a 2-minute intro of just like chords and like building up to the lead, and then it went in there, which was really cool, but it's just too much for what this is. So we didn't keep it. But then I'm really bad with time signatures and stuff like that. So I had this breakdown in my head, but I didn't know how to lay it out. And I'm using Reaper for my DAW to record. And I didn't know how to like lay any of this out. So, and get the click right. So I just like kept copying and pasting until like, this sounds right. This is cool. Like,
everything's in 4/4 if you don't count it like a nerd, right?
Yeah. You just copy and paste each note.
Because this is the one song that like when it went through pre-production with Garrett and and Ryan, they were like, what is going on with the guitar here? Like this, like you need to fix some things. And so I had to track a whole nother layer before we could
You had to
even get
tear out
started
the
with that.
page, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the ending of that song, or like the end product of that song, came out a lot better than we anticipated, because it was a song that we thought was cool, but we just got that song back, like maybe, what is it, Danny? Like maybe 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And we were like, whoa, this song was like cool before, but now I think it's like, I know for me, it's like kind of like
it's the hotness.
It's kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with this too, on the chorus line, we initially had something else, and I can't remember exactly. I know it was more just yelling, and I think we had John singing in behind it, and then Ryan came back to us as like, just hear what I got for what I had an idea for the chorus line, and it sounded fresh, right? And Kyle and I were like, maybe we just get Ryan to sing on this part. We use that on the thing. But he was like, no, guys, like if at the end of it all, that's what we need to do, great. But he's like, you should sing on it. John should sing on it. And then we'll go from there. And that's what ended up happening. It's actually both of us layered in there. And it just gave it a cool feel. But that was another part that Ryan was, really instrumental in helping with.
That's really cool.
That's so cool.
I love that.
Wow.
Do we want to move on to Forget?
Yeah.
Sick.
Let's do it. I love this track. This is the track. It was the second single you guys released, and this was the one where I was like, okay, I am so on board with this band. Like, this
music
band
video is
needs to
so
be
good.
everywhere. Yeah. And this band is like one of the future bands of the scene.
Awesome. So Kyle, this is the last song we wrote, right?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, this was the last song we
Okay.
wrote.
It's arguably the heaviest on that. I don't even think it's arguably. I think it pretty much is the heaviest, right, Chris?
Really? Heavier than Monolith?
I don't. It's darker.
Pages.
I don't know
maybe.
if darker's the right
Yeah.
word. I don't know.
It's
Heavy is so subjective, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that we can all say that this is probably one of the more fun songs to play. It's faster pace. But this also, the lyrics came from that same thing from France.
Okay.
And in that, I mentioned like, I've hurt these people, they've hurt me, they've hurt my wife. Like, it's a messy situation, but we've tried to reconcile several times actually in the past. And, when we forgive people, me and my wife, we go, how we were raised is like, you don't bring that stuff up anymore.
Right.
And that's actually probably something more newer for me, is not to bring it up. But we really, since we've been married, try to live in that. And so we forgive them and we don't talk about that stuff anymore. But these folks, they were, during this whole thing, to take all of the attention off of them, they were just throwing accusations back at me and back at my wife. And that's where, it's I think it's the second verse, right? That, what is that? How's that second verse go? Oh my goodness.
You say my sins are as
No,
far
that's
as
the chorus.
That's the chorus.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's,
You don't treat me according to my iniquities.
Iniquities, right. If you kept track
of them, then how could I ever stand?
Right. And then it goes.
You have redeemed me for nothing less than the sake of your name.
Yep. It's not about me, even when they throw my confessions in my face.
There
right?
you go. Yep.
And that's where it kind of came from. And this idea, like, I know that they're all my failures. I know that I made all these mistakes. And guys, I'll tell you, like, we can be honest, right? So, like, a lot of the sin that I had in my life that the Lord was dealing with me had to do with my pornography addiction and the adultery that I was hiding from my wife. And, I know that I'm responsible. I'm 100% responsible for all that. Those things were told in confidence even to these people. They were very close to us, and they broadcasted that to a large crowd, right? And so, like, I know, like, that it's all mine, and I've dealt with a lot of depression, even suicidal thoughts because of that, because I failed my wife and my kids. and my, the rest of my family, quite honestly. But I'm forgiven from all those things, right? And those truths in Scripture that they are as far as the east is from the west. They are in the depths. He chooses to forgive and forget those things, and that is incredible. And so we try to live our lives in the same way. And so that's where the lyrics are coming from, right? Like you always forget, but never me, right? And you always remember me, but all those other things, it doesn't matter. And really, on the other side of eternity, like we're not even gonna remember all this jazz. There are indicators in Scripture, like it's gonna be so great. This is just gonna be a shadow. Can you think about that now? Like we're having this cool conversation, and for Kyle and I, it's a big deal, right? I mean, you guys have something built that's really awesome, and this is exciting for us, and all the things are kind of moving. But this is just going to be a shadow. Like this doesn't even compare what's coming. So that's wild. Anyway, that's lyric wise. Kyle, you could take the rest of that.
Yeah, this one was super cool. We started kind of messing around with the first breakdown at our first practice that we ever had, which we call it the snack down because it's short. But for this song, I was on a big Sent by Ravens kick.
I love that band.
I was like, but I had never listened to Sent by Ravens before. Where are we? Oh, it's this year.
Really?
Like the beginning of this year. I'd never listened to them. I found them and I was like, dude, this is great. And the guitar.
I was like, I never heard them. I was like, how? You are living in South Carolina. How have you never heard of Sent by Ravens?
Yeah, I was just like blown away by how good they were. And so, but I couldn't write. Can't write something that's like, well, but didn't want to write something that was so poppy. But another influence of mine that I failed to mention in the beginning was "Stick to Your Guns."
Okay.
So for me, that song was kind of like, it was me, but like Sent by Ravens, Stick to Your Guns, like kind of thrown in the mix, and Kyle's version of that. But yeah, it was cool. We had a lot of fun writing that one. When we put it together, I think we were all like, oh yeah, this is gonna be one of the singles or something like that. And it was, so that's cool.
That's cool. Now that you mention it, I can hear some of the when I'm like replaying the song in my head. I can kind of hear some of those Sent by Ravens riffs.
Yeah, like if you were to take the chorus and take like the lead, the vocal, everything out of it, like those chords by themselves are like very Sent by Ravens.
Yeah, I can hear that now. That's really cool. I'm excited to go. I'm so excited to go back and listen to this EP after getting all this context.
Yeah. I like Sent by Ravens was one of those bands for me when they first signed to Tooth and Nail and they released the music video for Trailers versus Tornado. Mm-hmm. I was hooked. And when Our Graceful Words came out, like that was, I would say for like 2 years straight, they were like my favorite band. Like it jumped from being like Skillet or whatever I was listening to at the time as a youth group kid. Cause like I was in youth group at the time. Sent by Ravens was just like everything. And so I can definitely hear that now in your guys' music, and that just makes me happy. When
I joined the Army, I came out of MP OSIT and went to airborne school and then went right to the 82nd at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I was there for only 3 weeks and then I deployed. But during that 3 weeks, I saw Sent by Ravens sometime in between that. And they only had that EP out with Modern Day Mary on it.
Oh, for real?
Okay. Oh, the old one.
Yeah. And so I bought that, and it was that for my whole deployment. I listened to that and 3. I forget the album name for 3. It was like it was like a girl holding balloons. Oh, jeez. I forget that happens. But it was the one where the girl's holding the 3 balloons or whatever. And
is that Burden of a Day?
It might have. No, not Burden of a Day. It was a 3 album. 3. Do you know 3? They were on Middle Blade.
3. No, I don't.
Okay, they're really. It's really good. It's like a they're like some type of metal band. Like
Okay.
I don't know how to classify them, but anyway, I went back and forth with those two albums the whole deployment. So.
Nice.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah, we for this song we were kind of trying to figure out because we wanted to do a music video for one of the songs, and we went back and forth between we were going to do one with Monolith, and we were like, no, we don't want to do that, and then we decided on this one, and we were trying to figure out where to do it, but that the trailer that we're in that music video is actually our drummer James. Him and his wife, they bought a Spartan trailer that they're going to be turning into an Airbnb in Brevard, North Carolina. And so it's like very like kind of not put together yet and everything like that. And he was like asking his wife if we could like jam in there, and she wasn't super stoked, but we did. And man, that was a rough, because I had a bulging disc. I've had a bulge disc since January, and but before this video, like the week of, I did something at work, and I was really I jacked it up. I was having a hard time walking and everything, and my wife was like, "Babe, you shouldn't go," and I was like, "Shouldn't go? We got people flying in for this. I got to go," and she, she wasn't happy, and I herniated my disc bad during that video. I couldn't film. I couldn't film the second day, and so if you'll notice, like if you go back and watch it, there's a part in the trailer that's like during the day, and it's only Danny, James, and John. Like I'm not there at all. Yeah. Because I went to the ER. But yeah, and then so
your wife's like, I told you.
Yeah, and you can't you can't put a disclaimer at the beginning now that says no Kyles were injured during the filming of this video.
One Kyle was injured during the filming of this.
No, it was awful. I mean, I couldn't really like sit down or anything. So like my parents, I live in Somerville, which is by Charleston, South Carolina, and like I couldn't drive the car or anything. So my parents drove from Raleigh and then drove me and my car back to Somerville, which is 4+ hours. And then I was out of work for the next 3 months.
Wow. Are you better now?
I'm better now. Yeah. I'm moving and grooving now. Yeah.
Praise God.
but yeah, that video we were like filming till like 2:00 in the morning.
Sheesh.
It was gnarly.
And Garrett was like, "Do you guys want to get up and do a sunrise shoot?" And we're like, "Nah, dude, this is not happening. We're too tired." And James is also super paranoid that, in the valley that this trailer sits, he's like, "All my neighbors are going to hear this, and I'm not going to hear the end of it." And blah, blah. We're like, "James, it's going to be all right. Like, we're doing this one time. They'll get over it. It'll be, they won't even remember this in like a couple months.
They'll forget it."
Garrett.
They will.
Yeah. Garrett. Go ahead, Danny.
Well, we built this cross that was like
22 feet high. 22 feet high. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was stupid. And it fell on us at one point and hit James' dad in the face.
What?
Yeah.
Is this recorded somewhere?
We have a recording of taking it down, which was equally as sketchy. No.
Imagine if that happened during like one of the actual like shoots that you guys were doing for like a clip. Oh
yeah, that'd have been crazy. But
dang.
Yeah, Garrett,
sounds like a crazy shoot, because I mean that
I know,
like that it probably cost a lot of money to do, but for Kyle,
very high
was
production.
Like,
yeah, it wasn't great. Like I kept laying down in between takes, which we did a bunch. Yeah. And Garrett, he's a longtime friend of ours. He goes way back with Danny and myself and the rest of the guys. Like even in the Death in Me, he recorded an Appeal to Heaven, but he's been super instrumental in everything No Treaty. So he did the video, but every time like I'd be like, or James would be like, man, he'd be like, guys, like get real serious, like guys, full send. And it's like, okay. And so we would, and then, yeah, it was fun though.
I love that. That's awesome. Cool. Well, we've got one more.
Deep.
We have Deep. This was the first track you guys wrote. Talk about that.
So this one, so when The Death in Me was ending in 2019, I was also kind of like, I kind of had a spark to kind of do it again. I got excited, started writing some music, but like I said, I didn't touch my guitar after that, as it was a really dark time for me. And so I had wrote the music of it, minus the there's like this little lead part that's like like I had that for years and never had a place for it. So I didn't have that yet, but so I had this piece, and then my wife joined the military. She joined the Coast Guard, and we moved from North Carolina, which we're from, to Massachusetts. And so we're really big homebodies and different stuff like that. And so it's just we'd never moved away or anything. It was a big transition for us. And so during that time, you know, I was questioning a lot of things. And, you know, I also had a huge problem with pornography from a really young age. And like, there was a time where like my wife, she had caught me, and it was terrible. It went through just this really dark period of, you know, just not connecting, a lot of hurt, and different stuff. And then through that, you know, I mean, during the same time period, I was kind of like leaving music behind. And then also I had tried to get into the Coast Guard I've tried to get into the Coast Guard like 6 or 7 times. And I've had kidney stones, and they wouldn't let me in. And it was just like this big thing. And then, so like, I was like trying to figure out like where I fit, you know, what am I going to do? And so that was happening. And then in the middle of that, I was just really questioning, like, you know, just these thoughts of, you know, am I a Christian? You know, like, I know, like, I love the Lord and stuff like that, but I just feel so far away from him. And so I just started and I got really depressed and stuff like that. And people are saying like, you should journal or, you know, whatever. I'm not very good at that, but I wrote the lyrics for Deep during that time. And, you know, just like, I just felt so just clouded and couldn't move on from anything. And so, you know, Holy Spirit, fill me with peace. I felt anything but peace. And so Deep just basically became my own prayer to the Lord. And just kind of was like my way of like connecting and trying to find like where I was at in this spot. And so, you know, I didn't know what was next, but it was just such a transitional time. You know, I just felt like it was time to step out into the deep, and the deep was so unknown, but the Lord has me. And so, when Danny and I first started talking, you know, I had a couple of other songs that I had kind of like demoed out on my phone or anything like that. And he liked this one the most because it was the most hardcore sounding one. So he was like, that's the one, you know? And I was like, well, I don't know if you're into this, but I actually I have lyrics for this song if you'd be down to use them. And so he liked them, and we connected on it a lot because Danny and I have dealt with some of the same issues with that. And so, you know, that song just kind of became, I guess, it was a pivotal point for us connecting and then really establishing no treaty. That was the one that was the only one that we went to the studio for, and we recorded it with Garrett, who did the video for Forget. And we just had these big moments in the studio. And so, you know, like I'm not a moment chaser. We're not moment chasers. It's just something real really happened in the room that none of us had felt in a long time before. And I really think it was the Holy Spirit. And it was just really special. Everybody felt it. Everybody knew it. But yeah. And so that one to us is probably the most, I guess special to us, just because how many deep roots it has within us and where it came from and how we were able to connect on it.
Yeah. Wow, man.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing and being so vulnerable. I think that really connects with us. I speaking for Sean myself, like I know that means a lot to us too, because like I can relate to what you guys are talking about, and I know that there's many people listening that will be able to connect with that. And I think connecting it all with the whole EP and just where you guys went lyrically, because there's a lot of it's all just super biblically rich. And I think, music like this really encourages me in my faith. And this is what this music is like so good for, just to really encourage believers and help us in our walks. And just thank you guys so much for obeying the Lord and coming together, making this music, putting the amount of effort and hard work that you guys did into it, and then just being so open and sharing with us during this podcast. So thank you guys so much.
Praise the Lord. Thanks,
to echo everything Chris said, I think this EP really really shows why Christian metal is so special and why it can be so special. I feel like you guys have truly done everything right as a band. You guys are extremely vulnerable and transparent, which again really speaks to me, speaks to the listener. It's just, as Chris said, so biblically rich, so much truth throughout. You guys are unashamed of the gospel, 100%. That is the forefront of basically every line of the entire EP. And then you guys created good art. And I think that's something, I'm not going to say that like the entire scene doesn't create good art, because that would be A, not true, and B, kind of rude. But I think some artists can get lost in trying to write lyrics so good that they forsake the art part of it. And they think that like the art doesn't have to be like the best thing out there. It doesn't have to be of the highest quality. And this is art of the highest quality, I believe. I was talking to my wife before this, telling her that I don't think we've gotten like a debut Christian metal EP this good in a long time. So it's definitely up there. I know I tend to overhype a lot of things because I feel strongly and I really enjoy the things I enjoy. But I'm not exaggerating. This EP, like I listened to it this morning and I at the gym, and I drove home like feeling much more encouraged than I typically do after listening to, some like really like angry hardcore at the gym. So I think it's just a testament to the truth and to the lyrics that are in this thing.
Well, praise the Lord. That's awesome. It's like, that's all. If we're not pointing people to Jesus, man, I mean, Kyle and I we kind of came to that consensus in the first couple of days of thinking about this. If we're not pointing people to Jesus, like this doesn't matter. We just got to hang it up, because it's just going to become about us. So very grateful. I think, the Lord is doing something with us, and we're just excited to be here for the ride, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys continue to do. I'm excited to see how the scene receives this EP. It'll be really cool watching you guys do some tours, playing some shows. in the future. Hopefully I can make it out to a show, meet you guys, hang out.
That'd be awesome.
But if there's one thing you guys want to leave the listener with going into this EP, what would that be?
Well, shoot, I just gave you the same spiel. Because, I mean, we certainly, with Deep culminating it, the big thing is like we've all been told lies. And some of those lies we believed. And so in essence, we've told ourselves those lies. And it sucks. Those lies, they destroy us. For me, the lie that was told to me by some people that I really love, they said, they had my whole life mapped out for me, right? And they knew what was going to happen. They didn't care what the Lord might do, or were even interested in entertaining that or investing into it. And they told me, Danny, it's always been this way, and it's always going to be this way. Like this is where your life's going, and that trajectory was the military. And I told myself that lie, and it led me to a lot of awful things, of which I got to share here. But there's only one way out of a lie, and that's the truth. And the truth says that if you would know the truth would set you free. And he says that if whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Right. And so, I tell you all the truth that, it's only belief, right? That's all you got to do is just believe in the one who was sent. And the truth is that Jesus loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do to change his mind on that. So, that's what we hope that everybody gets out of this, is that there is a love that we really can't comprehend. And it's so intense for us, and he sees you as an individual. He sees us as a whole world. And so we just hope you experience that same love that we have.